Hello everyone, welcome to the last chapter, and this chapter is going to be about maintaining a website. After you design your website and you basically you developed it and then you launched it, you need to still maintain it. So continuous maintenance is very important if you want to have a very good website, because a lot of changes happens. You want to make sure that your website is up to date. And basically, it's kind of stay fresh and it stands out from the competitors that you might have. So a web developer, it must keep up with the up-to-date technology and basically the new ways to reach the audience for the marketing. So in this chapter, you are going to learn about the development life cycle of a website. And we're going to talk about how to keep a website content up to date, and by looking at some of the project management life cycle, including the design and content updates, and also finally you can develop a maintenance plan for your website. So some of the objective of this chapter is, first, you're going to be able to describe a website development lifecycle. Then you're going to be able to outline the project management for a website. Also, we're going to talk about the copyright, so you'll be able to define the copyright. We're also going to talk about developing a website maintenance plan, as well as looking at the purpose of the content management system, or the CMS system. Also, we are going to talk about web frameworks and look at some of the basic e-commerce that you need for the website. So let's look at the website development life cycle. So basically, website development life cycle, it's a process that you will do in the system development life cycle. Maybe some of you have taken the system development life cycle in your other classes, maybe your design classes. We are going to apply the same concept to the website when you are going to maintain and design your website. So you're going to follow basically the similar cycle. So you need to have comprehensive planning and analysis to make sure that the developers can provide whatever the user wants. So if you start, like if somebody might ask you to develop a website, if you start coding it from the beginning without having any planning and analysis, then you're going to have a lot of risk of missing some of the important information that maybe the users wants. And then it's going to be more expensive to fix those problems. It's always less expensive to make the correction at the early phase than the later phase. So that's why it's the planning part of the website is very important. So the phases of the web development lifecycle includes planning, analysis. Basically, it's also going to include design, development. It's also going to include testing and implementation, and finally maintenance. So this is the steps of the system development life cycle, and for when you are developing a web, you're going to follow the similar cycle. This figure 12.5 is actually showing you the web development life cycle, which includes all these phases that we just talked about: planning, analysis, design, the testing, implementation, and then maintenance. This table actually lists several questions that you need to ask during each phase in the web development life cycle. So this is going to be actually very helpful for you when you are going through developing your website in terms of planning it. So there are some questions: what is the purpose of the website? Who will use this website? So all of these are very important when you are going to actually develop that website, and in order to actually get the user's requirements. The next thing that we are going to talk about is website planning. Basically, website planning is the first phase of web development lifecycle. It can actually involve identifying the goal or purpose of the website. So the first step in the website planning is to answer a question about some of those questions that you saw in the previous page about what is the purpose of this website. So you know that different people and different groups, they want to design the website for a variety of purposes. So maybe some people, they want to develop a website to share their hobbies, or maybe they want to share their ideas or personal interests. Also, maybe some organization, they want to create a website to make sure that their members are aware of the upcoming events, and maybe they can recruit new employees, or maybe they want to sell their products and services. And so maybe even a faculty person might publish a website to add information about their course using their online learning management system, which we use on Canvas. So there are different purposes for the website. So you need to basically identify the intended purpose of the website, and then you can proceed with the development of it. So the final aspect to the planning stage is basically to identify the content owner and also the authors of that as well. The next phase is called website analysis. During the analysis phase, you can make decisions about the website content and the functionality of it. So to help define the appropriate website content and functionality, you should follow first need to identify the tasks that the user needs to actually perform. Identifying those tasks will allow you to define the control users need to perform those tasks and determine useful information for your users. In the analysis phase, also you can consider the procedure required to support the website features. For instance, if you determine that your user need to order product through the website, then you should define the action plan for what happens when each time the order is submitted. So you need to clearly understand and define the desired content and functionality of the website in this phase. So this is basically very important in the analysis phase. The next phase is basically website design and development. After you determine the purpose of the website and define the content and functionality in the analysis phase, you should consider the design. Some of the consideration that you need to take into consideration are defining the organization for web page content, selecting the appropriate website structure that they might need, determine how to use the multimedia, and maybe address some of the accessibility issues, and also designing pages for the international audience. During this phase, you need to determine the best way to provide navigation on the website. So that's the very important part, the navigation of the website. It can make a break or it can make or break a website. So if the users can't find the information very easily, they might not even come back to your website, and you might lose that audience. So this phase also determines the best way to do the navigation on your website. So these are some of the things that you are going to do in the web design. So this table 12.2 in your book, lists some of the organizational standards for creating a web page that's easily being read and navigate. So these are the things that maybe some of the elements that you want to use in your website. So as a web developer, you need to select an appropriate structure for the website and work to balance between the depth and the breadth of your website. The users could go to the website looking for information to complete a task. Good design also provides ease of navigation, allowing user to find things very quickly. In addition to planning the design of the website itself, a web developer should plan the specifies of the file naming and the storage convention early on in the phase as well. So that, file naming is also very important part of the, the developer that needs to take care of. So each structure connects the web pages in a different way to define how users navigate the site and view the web pages. Good design, as we said, it provides easy navigation and it allows the user to find things easily. So during the design and development phase, consider what, if any, type of multimedia can contribute positively to the website experience as well. So that's also important to think about. Another concept that you might want to think about is the localization and accessibility issues. Adopting a website to meet the need of a particular language or culture is called the localization. There's a practical approach is to basically to design for a diverse audience, including physical impaired or global users. So there are softwares that are out there that physically impaired people they can use when you're visiting your website. For instance, if you use a graphic on your website, you can include alternative text for each graphic so that the screen readers can recite the alternative text to the people with the low vision. So to support an international audience, you can use generic icons that can be understood globally. You should avoid the slang expression in the content, and you can build simple pages that loads very quickly over low speed connection, because some places in the world they might not have the bandwidth that you might have in this country. The next step of this is website testing. You can test your website in the various stages of web design and development process. The testing process should be comprehensive, and it should include a review of your web page, content, functionality, as well as the usability of your website. Websites that have broken links or missing graphic and incorrect content, it creates a poor impression to your visitors. So you might want to attract users to your website and maintain their interest. So if the visitor finds the features of your website that don't work, they will not come back to your websites. So this is important to make sure that you have people that come back to your website. So there are some basic steps to test the content and functionality. One is validate each web page by running it through the W3C markup validation service. You also need to proofread the content and titles for accurate spelling and grammar. Also check the links to make sure that they are not broken. You need to also review the graphics to confirm they are displayed properly, and ensure that accessibility and internationalization issues are also addressed. Also, you need to fill out forms and use interactive page elements the way users will use them in order to test that. Also, you need to test pages to make sure that they load quickly, and also you need to print each page to check its printed appearance. These are all some of the important steps that you need to follow if you want to make sure that you are testing for the content and functionality of your website. So usability is the measure of how well a product, such as a website, allows a user to accomplish a goal. Usability testing is actually a method by which the users of the website or some other stakeholders are asked to perform certain tasks in effort to measure the product's ease of use and get the user's perception of the experience. Usability testing for a website should focus on three parts of the website: the content, navigation, as well as presentation. This table provides an example of usability testing questionnaire that you can actually provide. So the website is easy to navigate. People can say strongly agree, agree, neutral. So this is a Likert scale that they use here. In addition to the content, functionality, and usability testing, there are other testings that can be conducted. One other testing is compatibility testing that can verify that the website works with a variety of browsers or browser's version. Initially, test using the browsers that your audience is mostly likely to use. Each browser, they display some aspect of the web pages differently, so you need to test web pages in several browsers to verify the pages appear correctly. If you have used some technology that aren't supported by old browsers or they require plugin, you need to change the content or provide alternative web pages for viewing in the older browser. If your audience, they use Windows, Mac, and Android devices, you need to test the web pages using browser on all those platforms as well. Another testing is called stress testing that determines what happens on your website when many users access your website. So when, for example, 120 users access your website simultaneous, your performance of your website should not suffer. But when the thousands of users access the website at the same time, it might respond or at an unacceptable low speed, or it might not even open up. So stress testing verifies that the website runs at acceptable speed with many users. So website used for e-commerce, they might also stay online to sell product or services. Otherwise, the company can actually lose a lot of profit. So in terms of, for example, in the Black Friday, it's very important to make sure that all the website you do a stress testing. The next phase is the website implementation. Implement or publish a website after completing the testing phase and making the required changes. This happens in the website implementation phase. Implementing a website, it involves the actual publishing of the web pages to a web server. After a website is published, it should be tested again to make sure that there are no obvious errors that have been introduced, such as broken link or missing a graphic. You need to also maybe use a FTP server, such as Lila, to publish your web pages to the web server. And the last phase is the website maintenance. Before you publish a website, a process must be developed to maintain the website. Maintenance begins the day that your website is actually published. A maintenance plans includes refreshing content, updating the design, adding marketing promotions, and checking the links that your website is working. As you make these updates, you need to test again to make sure that your website is having those integrity and the consistency. So, for instance, if several people are updating various pages on a large website, they need guidance to maintain consistent look on the web page across the website. Update the sitemap, wireframe, templates, and provide them to everybody that are working on the website. So planning to update your website on a regular basis to keep your content up to date is very important. As the necessary updates are made, the website needs to be tested again. To help manage the task of the maintenance, the identity of those responsible for updating the content, structure, functionality, and other elements must be determined as well. So, depending on how big your website is, it might be necessary to create a form for user to complete when requesting for a change to the website. So a change request form is sometimes very important in this phase. As updates and changes are made, users should be notified to explain about the new features and the benefits of those new features that are out there. So and then finally, the website and its visitors must be monitored and to see how many visitors you get to your website. Also you need to have a log. A log is the file that lists all of the web pages that have been requested from the website. You need to analyze the log to determine the number of visitors, browser type, versions, connection speed, and all those user patterns. With this information, you can design a website that is very effective for large audience and provide visitor with a very good experience. This figure 12.6, shows you an example of a website maintenance request form. So if a change needs to be done, then these forms must be completed. So as we said, a log is very important to keep it, and it helps you when you analyze those logs to determine the number of visitors, browsers type, and versions, and also the connection speed, so you know who to design for. The next thing that we are going to talk about is reviewing the website. So you probably use the web several times a day to complete your daily task. So as you do, review the web pages that you access with an eye on functionality and design. You can bookmark those websites to find the effective or ineffective, or appealing or unappealing, and use them as a reference for your own web development efforts. So it's very important to look at other websites to see and watch for trends on the web as information is being searched. So there are different trends that you might adopt to your website. Updating your website after you publish the website, you need to basically do a survey to get the users' feedback. So most users, they find maybe certain elements are distracting, or maybe they're not distracting, then they can tell you, and then you need to basically make the changes, maybe request them to send a form, and then approve the changes and implement them after reviewing the user's feedback. So this is it for this part of the chapter. The next part, we are going to talk about the project management part of your website.